Hey everybody, look, I know what you're thinking, John, not this again. Can't we just talk about something fun like the mating habits of earthworms or the exhilarating sport of competitive cheese rolling? And you know what? I hear you. But here's the thing. Our democracy is in trouble. Big trouble. It's like that feeling you get when you're watching a horror movie and the creepy music starts playing. You know something bad is about to happen, but you're not sure what. That's where we are right now. Things feel off. The sad truth is, we've seen this movie before. It's a tale as old as time itself, power concentrated in the hands of a few, while the rest of us are left scrambling for scraps. It's the story of feudalism, of authoritarianism, of empires built on the backs of the many for the benefit of the few. And folks, it's playing out right before our very eyes.
Remember learning about feudalism in school? Yeah, not exactly a picnic, was it? Peasants toiling away for lords who lived in fancy castles and sipped wine from golden goblets? Well, guess what? That wasn't just a weird phase humanity went through, like bell-bottoms or the Macarena. It's a cautionary tale. Think about Nazi Germany. A charismatic leader, a population fed a steady diet of lies and fear-mongering, and boom! Democracy crumbles faster than a stale croissant. Or how about the Roman Republic? They went from Veni, Vidi, Vici to wait, who's this Caligula guy? And why is he appointing his horse to the Senate, quicker than you can say bread and circuses? The point is, history is littered with the wreckage of democracies that didn't see the warning signs or worse, chose to ignore them. And folks, we're seeing those same warning signs flashing red right now.
Now you might be wondering, how do these power-hungry folks pull it off? How do they manage to stand in front of thousands, sometimes millions, and deliver statements with such conviction that people can't help but believe them? How do they convince people to go along with it? How do they make the unbelievable seem not just possible but probable? Well, friends, let me introduce you to the magical world of propaganda. It's an art form as old as time itself, used by those in power to shape public opinion and control the narrative. And its greatest hit, the big lie. This isn't just any lie. It's a colossal falsehood, a grand deception designed to manipulate the masses. The big lie is a doozy. It's the kind of lie that makes you question your own reality, that makes you wonder if you've been living under a rock. It's not just your run-of-the-mill fib, like telling your dentist you floss every day, even though you only remember to do it the night before your appointment, or claiming you totally watched that 3-hour documentary on the history of taxidermy, when in reality you fell asleep 10 minutes in. No, the big lie is a whopper. It's a lie so enormous, so audacious, that it defies logic and reason. It's so outrageous, so blatantly false, that people almost can't believe it's not true. It's the kind of lie that makes you do a double take, that makes you question your own sanity. And because it's repeated over and over again, it starts to seep into people's brains like toxic sludge. Think about it. The more you hear something, the more it starts to sound like the truth, even if it's a complete fabrication. How many times have you heard a politician say something so mind-bogglingly untrue that you almost choked on your own spit? It's like they're living in an alternate reality, and they're trying to drag you along with them. That's the big lie in action, baby. It's a powerful tool, one that preys on our deepest fears and insecurities. It preys on our fears, our prejudices, and our general tendency to believe what we see on the internet, especially if it comes from a source we trust, or if it confirms our existing beliefs. And let's be honest, we're all guilty of it. We've all fallen for a big lie at some point, whether it's a political statement, a sensational news story, or even a viral internet meme, especially if it involves cats wearing tiny hats. Because who can resist that? The big lie spreads like wildfire, fueled by social media and the 24-hour news cycle. It becomes a part of the collective consciousness, shaping our perceptions and influencing our decisions. So next time you hear something that sounds too outrageous to be true, take a step back, question it, do your own research. Because in the age of the big lie, the truth is more important than ever.
Section 4. From democracy to oligarchy, a slippery slope. This is a journey that many societies have taken, often without realizing it until it's too late. Now you might be thinking, John, that's all very concerning, but how does this happen? How do we go from a vibrant democracy to an oligarchy where a few hold all the power? But we're not ancient Rome, right? We have modern institutions, checks and balances, and a robust legal system. And we're definitely not Nazi Germany. We're a democracy. We have freedoms and rights that are protected by our constitution. We have iPhones and avocado toast. We're good, right? Our society is advanced, connected, and informed. But is that enough to safeguard our democracy?
Well, here's the kicker. Democracies are fragile things. They require constant vigilance, much like a delicate plant that needs regular care and attention to thrive. Like a Tamagotchi that's constantly demanding attention. If you ignore it, it starts to wither and eventually it dies. And threatening to die if you don't feed it digital snacks. This might seem trivial, but it's a perfect metaphor for the state of our democracy. Even our old pal Plato, the OG philosopher king himself, warned about this. He saw the potential for democracies to decay into something far less ideal. He said democracies are prone to becoming oligarchies, where the few who are wealthy and powerful end up making all the decisions. Where the wealthy and powerful call all the shots. They have the resources to influence policies and shape the direction of the country.
It's like that game of Monopoly, where your friend who always insists on being the banker ends up owning all the property, and you're left with nothing but a few dollars and a lot of frustration. And you're stuck trying to scrape together enough Monopoly money to afford a stay in jail. It's a frustrating and demoralizing experience, much like living in a society where the rich control everything. And guess what? Plato was onto something. His observations were not just philosophical musings, they were warnings based on the patterns he saw in societies. Because when a small group of people control the wealth, they also control the levers of power. This concentration of power can lead to corruption and a loss of democratic values. They also control the levers of power. They can influence elections, buy off politicians, and ensure that laws and policies favor their interests, and shape the narrative to suit their own interests. The media, often owned by the wealthy, can be used to manipulate public opinion and obscure the truth.
And before you know it, your democracy has gone from government of the people, by the people, for the people, to government of the rich, by the rich, for the rich. Catchy, right? But it's not just a catchy phrase, it's a stark reality that we must be aware of and actively work against. So, what can we do? We must stay informed, hold our leaders accountable, and participate in the democratic process. It's up to us to ensure that our democracy remains vibrant and true to its principles. Engage in community discussions, support independent media, and advocate for policies that promote equality and justice. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires active participation from all of us. Voting is one of the most powerful tools we have. It's our voice, our way of shaping the future. Don't take it for granted. Every vote counts, and every election matters. Together, we can build a society that truly reflects the values of democracy. It's a collective effort, and it starts with each one of us. Let's not let our democracy slip away. Let's nurture it, protect it, and ensure it thrives for generations to come.
Section 5. The Spirit of Rebellion. This section delves into the heart of what it means to stand up against oppression, to challenge the status quo, and to fight for what is right, even when the odds seem insurmountable. Okay, I know what you're thinking. John, this is getting a bit heavy. Can we lighten the mood with a fun fact about sloths or something? Maybe a quirky anecdote to break the tension? And to that I say, no, we cannot. Because this is serious, people. The spirit of rebellion is not something to be taken lightly, because this is serious, people. The fight against tyranny and injustice has shaped the course of history.
But don't despair, because here's the good news. Throughout history, whenever tyranny has reared its ugly head, people have risen up to fight back. Whenever tyranny has reared its ugly head, people have risen up to fight back. From the smallest acts of defiance to large-scale movements, the spirit of rebellion has always been a beacon of hope. People have risen up to fight back. They have shown that no matter how powerful the oppressor, the collective will of the people can bring about change. Take the American Revolution, for example. A bunch of colonists, fed up with being taxed without representation, decided to take a stand. A bunch of colonists, fed up with being taxed without representation, and probably also because they couldn't get decent tea, decided to tell King George to stick it where the sun don't shine. and probably also because they couldn't get decent tea, decided to tell King George to stick it where the sun don't shine. This act of defiance sparked a revolution that changed the course of history. Decided to tell King George to stick it where the sun don't shine. Their courage and determination laid the foundation for a new nation built on the principles of freedom and justice.
Or how about the civil rights movement? Brave men and women facing down fire hoses and police brutality, demanding equality and justice for all. Brave men and women facing down fire hoses and police brutality, demanding equality and justice for all. They stood up against systemic racism and fought for their rights, inspiring generations to come. Demanding equality and justice for all. These weren't just historical events, folks. They were acts of defiance, of courage, of people saying enough is enough. These weren't just historical events, folks. They were acts of defiance, of courage, of people saying enough is enough. They remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we have the power to create change. They were acts of defiance, of courage, of people saying enough is enough. And they remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we have the power to create change, of people saying enough is enough. And they remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we have the power to create change. The spirit of rebellion is alive and well, and it continues to inspire us to stand up for what is right. And they remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we have the power to create change. The spirit of rebellion is a testament to the resilience and strength of the human spirit. We have the power to create change. So let's honor those who came before us by continuing to fight for justice, equality, and freedom. The spirit of rebellion lives on in each of us. Section 6. Accountability, the cornerstone of a free society. Now you might be thinking, John, these grand historical examples are all well and good. But what can we, the average Joes and Janes of the world, actually do to protect our democracy?
Well, friends, it all starts with accountability. You see, in a healthy democracy, no one is above the law. Not the politicians, not the billionaires, not even the guy who invented that delicious cookie butter you can't stop eating. We all have a role to play in holding our leaders accountable, in demanding transparency, and in ensuring that the rules apply equally to everyone.
Because when we allow those in power to operate with impunity, to act like the rules don't apply to them, that's when things start to go sideways. That's when democracies start to resemble those weird dystopian novels where everyone wears matching jumpsuits and eats nutrient paste.